Hello everyone. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever unlocked your phone with your fingerprint or face? I bet most of you have. Congratulations. Your body is now your password. Cool, right? Convenient too. Today I want to talk to you about biometrics, what they are, how they are being used, and more importantly, whether all of this is even legal or no. Biometric consent refers to obtaining explicit, informed permission from individuals before collecting or processing their biometric data, such as facial, voice, fingerprints, or other psychological or behavioral characteristics. Legal consent in the context of this video recordings involves ensuring individuals are aware of and agree to being recorded, especially when such recordings can identify them. Let's go back in time just a little. In 1901, the first criminal fingerprint database was set up in UK. That was just the beginning. Fast forward to 2010, India launched the world's largest biometric ID system, that is Aadhaar. It now contains data of over 1.3 billion people. That's almost 1 by 6th of the humanity. Governments and corporations say that biometrics help with preventing fraud, speeding up security checks, and also delivering welfare schemes efficiently. For example, in India, Aadhaar has helped plug leakages in welfare distribution. You can authenticate your identity in seconds, even in rural villages. But there's a darker side too. Let me tell you about Ranu Mandal. She was a poor woman at railway station singing to survive. Someone recorded her and the video went viral. Soon, the facial recognition technology linked her to old Aadhaar records. Just like that, she was no longer visible. To understand the Aadhaar and its verification process, we shall understand this by a video.
Khushbu Jain, who has worked on several such issues. She's worked on the issues of privacy. So I'm sure she's the best person to tell you more about this law and also about the ancillary issues that have cropped up out of this law over the past few years. Thank you so much for joining us, Khushbu.
Thank you so much for having me here and raising such an pertinent issue.
Thank you so much, Khushbu, for joining here. So the first question is, how did this entire Aadhaar come into being? In the sense, we all know initially it was not a law. It was introduced through an executive order, and it was actually the brainchild. So the UPA government was the one which actually thought about it, but finally it is the Modi government which introduced it as a law.
To understand more about the Aadhaar and the biometrics application in digital technology, Aadhaar has played a significant role. That is, as a digital infrastructure, Aadhaar is the world's largest biometric ID system, which is used for digital identity verification in government welfare, banking, telecom, and more. This not only does the verification but also enables digital KYC for the banks and fintech, streamlining onboarding and reducing fraud. Video-based KYCs and consent are the main thing, wherein RBI authorizes video-based customer identification, requiring prior notice and consent for biometric data collection during digital onboarding. Here's how the video of KYC works for bank customers.
In a landmark initiative, the Reserve Bank of India permitted video-based customer identification in January 2020, thereby enabling a complete digital customer onboarding process for banks. Through the first half of this year, more and more banks have gone live with the video KYC guidelines. Banks like ICICI Bank, DCB Bank, Kotak Mahindra, IDFC have all integrated video KYC as a mode of customer onboarding. As the name suggests, video KYC is the process through which the customer can undertake the entire verification process through a video call. While this makes the process of
Biometrics is not only considered in Aadhaar when it comes to Indian legislations, it also comes under Information Technology Act of 2000 as well as Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023, wherein Section 43A of the Information Technology says about the rules and classifies biometric data as sensitive personal data, requiring explicit consent and reasonable security practices for its collection and processing. Wherein in Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023, it introduces comprehensive regulation for all the personal data including biometrics. It requires clear and informed decision about collecting biometric data, and the data must be used only for legitimate specific purposes and deleted once the purpose is fulfilled. It also mandates notice to data principals detailing their rights and the purpose of data collection. Parental consent is required for processing children biometric data. Studying about the major case law which comes under this biometric would be KS Puttuswamy and others versus Union of India of 2017, wherein the Supreme Court declared the right to privacy as a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution. The judgment laid the foundation for stricter scrutiny of biometric data collection and its digital surveillance. The Supreme Court of India said that the court upheld the constitutional validity of Aadhaar but imposed restrictions on its use. Biometric authentication for every transaction was deemed prone to misuse and surveillance, raising the need for robust data protection. The court limited mandatory Aadhaar use to welfare schemes and PAN linking, prohibiting its use by private entities without law. Biometrics is not only used for these purposes, and it is also used for the mobile verification to open the apps such as banking apps where we do the payments, and Google Pay, that is petitions alleged Google Pay accessed Aadhaar details in violation of Aadhaar Act and Payments and Settlement Systems Act of 2007. The court clarified that only authorized entities like NPCI for UPI can process such data, and Google Pay was not a system provider under this act. There's a debate regarding the Aadhaar whether it is common law or fundamental law regarding the biometrics.
Made mandatory to file income tax returns. That is the stem of all the problem. And looking at what happened to this particular issue where even the apex court couldn't decide separately as to what needs to be done, because in the larger context it has always been a part of a common law. It has never been observed as a fundamental right guaranteed under the Constitution of India. And there have been various previous judgments which somehow haven't been able to clarify the kind of a sequence of events that we're looking at now. That is the reason the apex court decided to have a 5-judge bench, which we saw today. It heard the matter, and in a matter of, I think, half an hour, they came to a conclusion that they need to refer it to a larger bench of 9 judges who can sort of decide whether right to privacy is a fundamental right or not. But the challenges are huge. There have been conflicting judgments in the past which talk about the issue of right to privacy, but nothing has been ascertained from that. So tomorrow is going to be very crucial, and in fact that could solve a lot of problems. We talk about privacy breach, we talk about data breach that is collected, and that will set precedence for Aadhaar being made mandatory rather.
Okay, we have time for one more question, Jessica, but what I want to ask you is, do you feel that the body, the physical body of a human being and the digital space are being looked at as two separate entities right now, and that can't really be done in a digital age that we live in, where there is a unification of some ways, and your digital identity is actually an extension of your physical being? Do you think that that point is coming up vociferously?
Absolutely, Aisha. And if we remember back during the summer break when the apex court was hearing the matter exclusively as well, the Attorney General, in fact, in his previous remarks, the ex-Attorney General, in fact, in his previous remarks had said that one does not have a right to their body. That made headlines in the entire media fraternity. But forgetting that fact, it is certainly a bigger challenge, because if you look at the data that has been kept and stored, you're talking about iris scans, you're talking about fingerprints. If a country does not have a privacy law, and a privacy commission above all to oversee whatever data is collected, it is certainly going to create massive amount of troubles. And that is the reason this case is in point, because there is no privacy law that can protect the data. And given the kind of digital age we thrive in, I think every day we hear cases from Google or WhatsApp as to where the data is going, what sort of privacy do the individuals really require.
Right.
And that is exactly the kind of point we're getting at. And this, we're talking about a population which is nearly 1.27 billion, and in fact not all of them, of course, tuned for Aadhaar, but many, in fact. Where does that go? Where does that lead us? How
Absolutely.
will they be protected?
The impact, of course, not, I mean, for better purposes, I might as well say that it's on you and me as well, and of course everyone who has Aadhaar cards. We leave it at that, Jessica. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast with those details.
India has developed a layered legal framework for regulating biometric data in digital era, anchored by Aadhaar Act, IT Act and the new DPDP Act. Judicial oversight, especially via the Supreme Court's privacy verdicts, has shaped the contours of consent, proportionality, and purpose limitation. As digital technology evolves, these laws and landmark judgments continue to guide the responsible use of biometrics, balancing innovation with the protection of individual rights. Who's collecting your data? Can it be sold? You should have control because it's your body, your data. So, next time your phone unlocks with your face, pause for a second, think about the journey from that innocent selfie to a world where your eyes, your skin, your voice can be tracked. Biometrics can make your life easier, but they have also come with a price. Let's not pay it with our freedom, because in the end, we are not just the users of technology, we are its subjects. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we start acting like citizens again. Thank you.